Hey friends, hope you're all doing well. It's great to see you again. Let me introduce you to the new STEPR Stairclimber. This has been one of the most requested reviews I've had since they started shipping this out in October, and I can understand why. When it comes to home gym conditioning pieces, you probably immediately think of things like rowers, air bikes, treadmills, and ski ergs. They're relatively affordable, space-friendly, and generally accessible for most people regardless of fitness levels or training goals. But what about a stair climber? I'm sure we can all agree that climbing stairs is a great workout, but unless you have a commercial gym membership, odds are you've been missing out on a perpetual stair stepper. However, that might be about to change because STEPR has finally launched its connected stair climber designed for home gyms. It has a compact footprint, a unique step design, and the most compelling interactive package I've tried across the entire cardio spectrum. Spoiler alert, you don't need a subscription and you can stream things like YouTube, Netflix, Spotify, and more. Now, it is still on the expensive side, and there are a few considerations to look out for that I'll cover in this review, but overall, I'm excited about the STEPR after nearly a year of heavy anticipation. Let me show you around. The two biggest selling points of the STEPR are the size and the connectivity, so let me tackle both of those first. At 27.5 inches wide and 42 inches long, this is a very compact machine. The 3.5-foot depth is roughly the same as an air bike or even a ski erg, while the 2-foot width is narrow enough to fit through a standard doorway in your home. Equally as important when considering a stair climber is the height, because in addition to the height of the machine itself, you also have to add your own height to ensure adequate clearance. Now, the STEPR is actually a little bit taller than some of the other competing stair steppers, but that's mainly due to this massive monitor that I'll detail in a moment. The effective climbing height is comparable to others, and if you're 6'3" or under, you'll be good in an 8-foot ceiling environment. If you're taller than that, you'll need a taller ceiling. Since most American homes have at least 8-foot ceilings, this is a suitable option for most people. But if you're training in a basement gym, that may throw a wrench into things, which is yet another reason why garage gyms are superior. You may have heard the saying, don't curl in the squat rack, but what about stepping in the squat rack? That's how compact the STEPR is. And look, now I can finally reach the pull-up bar. With base dimensions out of the way, let's move over to the step dimensions, which has some pros and cons. On the plus side, and what makes this design unique relative to other stair climbers, is the implementation of stadium-style stairs. What I mean by that is they're designed to be shorter than most, and with comparable, slightly shallower depths, that ratio creates a relative experience more in line with what you would experience in an actual stadium. I, for one, like this. To me, it feels like more of a natural stride and results in less of that subconscious panic when you don't think you're keeping pace with the stairs. Now, how does that impact performance compared to taller steps? The short answer is I don't know. I don't have an EMG device here to measure muscle activation. However, I've never gotten off this thing feeling unworked, and it gets my heart rate up just fine. Even still, if I wanted to increase the intensity, I could easily just throw on a weighted vest. A couple of potential cons. Given the overall dimensions and the step dimensions, you have access to 3 steps at a time. While that's fairly common among other compact stair mills, some people may find this a little bit cramped. I think this is more of a drawback if you want to do double steps. It's possible and even programmed in some of their classes, but there isn't as much room for error as if there were 4 steps like on some commercial units. The same thing persists with side steps, also programmed in some of STEPR's classes and definitely doable, but it may be tight for some people. I, for one, just stick to straight stair stepping. The second potential con is the overhang on the next step. If you get your foot all the way to the back of the stair, you may find yourself clipping that top edge on the way back up from time to time. Now, to be fair, there are other stair climbers that have similar overhang designs, so this isn't limited to just STEPR, and I've only experienced this a few times in the 10,000 plus steps that I've climbed to date. So I don't think it's a big drawback at all, but it is something to consider since some other stair climbers have flat fronts. Overall, I'm quite pleased with the dimensions and the compact design of this machine, and I do think that it's a great fit for a home gym. So let's move over to the connectivity aspect of the STEPR. The second big selling point of the STEPR is the connectivity. This is really the first of its kind in this space. That is a stair stepper with a connected experience through instructor-led classes, guided scenic tours, and even third-party streaming, which is where the stepper truly shines. Let's take a look at the display first. As you can see, it's big, 27 inches, and it swivels nearly 360 degrees for workouts on and off the stairs. On the right edge, you've got volume controls, a USB-C port for charging your phone or other devices, and a headphone jack for wired sound. The volume is generally fine with 2 front and rear-facing speakers. It gets reasonably loud and the quality is about what you would expect. It's fine, it's definitely not great. I would recommend using headphones if you've got them, and coming soon, you'll also be able to connect wireless headphones and AirPods via Bluetooth. This is a 1080p touchscreen display, and overall the picture quality is nice. Not 4K nice, but for the purposes of fitness, I think it's perfectly fine, and it's consistent with other offerings. My biggest concerns with the screen are glare and that it might actually be too big. There's not much distance between you and the screen, making it somewhat overwhelming. Part of me appreciates the fact that they decided to go bigger than everybody else, but part of me also thinks that I may prefer something smaller. There's also a fair amount of glare on this screen, which is particularly evident when watching darker content. For that, I recommend turning off the lights, but the 45-degree tilt can also help with different viewing angles. Okay, let's move into the meat of this interactive experience. In some ways, as cliche as it sounds, this really is the Peloton of stair climbers, but in other ways, it's actually better. I'll explain. STEPR does have instructor-led classes, although it's fairly limited at this point. This is something they're going to be adding to in the future, including step classes and off-step classes like core, yoga, etc. Personally, these classes aren't really for me. The production quality is decent. I do think it could be improved visually and acoustically, and respectfully, I thought that some of the movements were a bit gimmicky, which brings me to the scenic tours, which is more my speed. I tend to favor that self-guided nature. I think that there is a ton of potential with these scenic tours. However, at the moment, they sort of missed the mark for me too. Don't get me wrong, the scenery is beautiful and I like the destinations. I'm just not really a fan of the presentation. It's got sort of this documentary feel to it with different camera angles and even occasional monologues. I prefer an experience like the one from Hydro where it's as if I'm actually rowing in Japan. I think STEPR has an opportunity to do something similar where they strap a camera on and provide a simple first-person experience in these locations. Now, if I was paying a monthly subscription, this would bother me, but I'm not, and you won't either until late 2024. And even then, you can just opt out and elect to only go with free stepping and streaming with no limitations on data tracking, history, etc. So let's take a look at both of those. Free stepping is what you would expect. Hit this quick start button and you have a few options to set goals, including duration, steps, floors, and calories. It'll count you down until you hit your goal, concluding the workout. Otherwise, you can just hit free step and go for as long as your heart desires. Where the STEPR really stands out, and why I said it's the most compelling package I've experienced, is that it offers streaming options. Right now, you can watch YouTube and Netflix, or even listen to music on Spotify. But coming soon, you'll be able to watch Hulu, Paramount Plus, Disney, YouTube Live, and more. This is a great opportunity to catch up on the latest Garage Gym Lab content, so I encourage you to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Regardless of what program you choose, whether it's classes or a free step, the screen displays your time, your steps per minute, floors climbed, steps climbed, calories, altitude, and soon to be heart rate. It'll even show you those stats on a floating bar that you can move around if you're streaming other content, which I really like. As far as the user interface goes, it's well presented and easy to navigate. I was actually going to be pretty critical about this app because I was experiencing a lot of lag, upwards of 2 to 3 seconds anytime I clicked a button for something to load. But as I was preparing for this video, STEPR put out an update which completely resolved that issue, and now everything loads almost instantly. As you'll see, the app natively has a dark mode, which I prefer. It's clean and has a nice contrast with those orange buttons. However, not everybody likes darker themes, so I'd love to see a toggle to turn that on and off. Otherwise, let me walk you through a few of the screens. When you first turn the STEPR on, it'll boot up and load your home screen. This page shows you some stats at the top as far as active days, floors climbed, total steps, etc. Moving down, you can pick from some recommended sessions or jump into your streaming services. And below that, even still, you have other workouts that you can open. Moving over to the Sessions tab, this is where you'll find all of your available workouts. You can filter by type, duration, difficulty, or coach, and then you can sort that. Again, I'm not spending too much time in here since I prefer to just free step. On the Activity tab, this is basically a history of all of your workouts, showing duration, steps climbed, floors climbed, calories burned, and altitude, and you can also sort that in various ways. On the Profile tab, you'll find various stats, personal records, and a goal section similar to Apple Watch rings that you can edit. And then below that, you'll see a milestone section where you can collect different badges. They're currently just for motivation, but STEPR is working on tying those to tangible incentives. And speaking of Apple Watches, STEPR will have integrations with different wearables soon. And then lastly, you can pick from one of 5 profiles for a more tailored experience, showing your history, data, etc. Overall, I've been very pleased with the user interface and the tech. I'm glad that they fixed that lag issue, and I'm looking forward to that Bluetooth connectivity, as well as some of the other third-party streaming services that they're going to be adding. So we've covered dimensions and tech. Let's take a look now at the mechanics of the machine and the overall build quality. I mentioned earlier that you have access to 3 steps at a time on the STEPR. These are operated by dual chains and an induction braking system. So in basic terms, it creates a magnetic field through a flywheel, which gets stronger or weaker depending if you want the steps to rotate faster or slower. As far as speed goes, the STEPR ranges from as few as 24 steps per minute to as many as 137 steps per minute. Now, I'm not personally using the STEPR for speed climbing. I tend to view it more as a steady state workout, so I'm hovering between 8 and 15 on the STEPR, which equates to around 56 to 75 steps per minute. You can control your speed on the right handle with simple up and down arrows. Mechanically, everything feels very smooth and responsive, and it has a nice repeatable sound for those ASMR fans. You've also got a cell phone holder underneath the monitor, 2 vertical storage slots beneath that, and probably the largest cup holder I've ever seen on a piece of conditioning equipment. Something to consider on a stair climber, perhaps more than any other piece of conditioning equipment, is safety. Now, STEPR offers 5 different ways to stop this machine. First, you've got a simple stop button on this left handle. Pressing this ends your workout, but it also gives you the option to resume it. From there, you've got 2 emergency stop buttons, one in the center and one on the front right post. By pressing these in, that will immediately stop the stairs, and then by twisting them, you can reset that button and the stairs start again. You can also just get off the STEPR. It will immediately know that you're not actually on it and stop the stairs. And then lastly, and really importantly, if you've got young kids or pets, is that there's an infrared sensor underneath that bottom stair. So if anything breaks that invisible line, the stairs immediately stop and you get a warning on the screen letting you know that that infrared sensor has been tripped. As far as build quality goes, I'm pretty impressed with the machine. The frame is constructed with carbon steel and includes an ABS plastic surround that's pretty consistent with other fitness products. The stairs are also reinforced with steel and then covered in a high-density plastic with a textured surface for good overall grip. All in, the machine weighs 286 pounds and has a max weight capacity of 375 pounds. Now, it's not the easiest machine to move around, but one of the things that I really appreciate that STEPR included in the production version was these transport handles that you can attach underneath that bottom step. This makes it much easier to leverage up and onto those front wheels to move this thing into position. On the front, back, and sides of this machine, you'll find steel hooks that you can attach things like bands to for STEPR's off-stair classes, as well as your own programming. So if you've got crossover symmetry bands or anything like that, this is a potential attachment point for you. It's not something that I'm personally using very much, but I appreciate that it's a unique concept and design relative to other stair climbers. In terms of assembly, you can build it yourself or you can pay for white glove delivery, which is what I did, where they bring you the machine already assembled and ready to go. Now, shipping the STEPR is pretty pricey, so the extra $100 to do the white glove may be worth it to some. If you do decide to build it yourself, it's pretty straightforward. Uses an app to help you, but they also have paper instructions. And considering the chassis comes pre-assembled, it's really only connecting the arms and the monitor, so it's not too painful. If you haven't already looked it up, you're probably wondering how much the STEPR costs. Well, it's an investment. Stair climbers in general aren't cheap, and this is no exception. To your door, after shipping and taxes, you're looking at around $5,000+. Depending on any sales, you may be able to score one for less than that, but you should expect around that much. When it comes to buying something like this that costs multiple thousands of dollars, warranty is a strong consideration. The STEPR does have a nice warranty. As standard, you get 10 years on the frame, 2 years on parts, and 1 year on labor. However, if you enter code GGL, you get an additional 36-month protection plan for free. This includes everything from wear and tear to accidental damage, power surges, and more with no deductible. And one of my favorite features about it is that it's transferable. So if you ever decide to sell the STEPR, the buyer can benefit from the remaining time on that plan. To do this, add the STEPR to your cart with the 36-month protection plan. Then at checkout, enter code GGL and it'll remove the cost for you. To wrap this review up, let me share a few of my final thoughts. Overall, I think this is a really good machine. I love its compact design, its stadium-style steps, and it functions how you would expect. I do get that there's some connected fitness fatigue out there, but to me, the STEPR feels a little bit different. Now, I did mention earlier that I don't particularly care for the classes or the scenic tours, for now at least, but the best part about it is you don't have to pay for that, at least until the fall of next year, and even then you can just opt into it, so you're never going to be locked into a subscription. The streaming capabilities are what I really think make this the most compelling tech packages out. YouTube, Netflix, Spotify for now, but look out for YouTube TV, Hulu, Paramount Plus, and more coming any day now. This machine has become my go-to piece of conditioning equipment in the gym. I still do the other stuff, but most of my time is now spent on the STEPR, partly because I get an opportunity to train while also watching some of my favorite content, and partly because it's just a really good workout. If you like the idea of adding a stair climber to your home gym, especially one with this type of technology, and you have the budget to support it, this is easily the best choice out right now, in my opinion. So what do you guys think of the STEPR? Have you been wanting to add a stair climber to your home gym? Is this something that you would consider buying? Let me know in the comment section down below. As always, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. I really appreciate it. I look forward to seeing you on the next video. Until then, be well, and we'll chat soon.